Hi friends. Today I'm going to try and draw some figs because my daughter and I went out. We were out getting burgers, and after we said we're getting burgers, she said, "Dad, I really want to eat a fig." And I just so happen to have a good friend who loves to go out and get wild figs every year when they're in season. And so we had a nice little adventure today where we went out and found some wild figs, found some places where wild figs were growing, which was super fun. It's always fun to get outside. It's always fun to go on an adventure too. And so I've got a couple wild figs here. There were different size ones here too, but it was a super fun experience just to do that with my daughter today. So I'm going to try and draw this fig, and hopefully it will come out all right. But any day I get a chance to draw is a good day. So get the curve of that. Really needs to be kind of just a little bit wider. It's hard to tell when it changes colors, like because this fig has some green up here, and then it has some red around here, and then I have another little fig next to it. Little fig, let me in. Actually should be a little lower than that, I think. I'm gonna go that way instead, so that it'll have the feel of it, what this fig looks like. It comes up, there's a little bit of flatness to it, and then it sort of curves around like this. Hopefully I can get the, this one's actually bit open, so hopefully it'll get the look of it once I'm able to get that. I need to get, this comes a little bit more to a point on this. But yeah, we had a super fun time going and exploring and finding some wild figs out in the trees. Down in Colonial Williamsburg is actually where we were. But all right, it's the basic outline of the two figs. So maybe has a, I need to widen that a little bit there. It's the basic outline of them. All right, so this one here, we've got some, gets bit open so you can really see the meat of it in here. But the part that's not the inside, there's a nice red skin on it. I'm gonna try and get some of the feel of that red, the darkness of it at least. I mean, obviously I can't get red, but and this is gonna be pretty dark back in here. But I want to give it a little bit, just feel it, that there's, I do need to have a little bit of lightness to it just to get it to feel, so it comes up like that. All right, and then you got that part that goes there. Yeah, but so it was just, and as far as like what I'm grateful for today, besides doing art, because it's always a good day when you can do art, but I'm also just grateful for adventures, especially adventures out in nature. I love when I can get out in nature, and if I can do it with my daughter, it's a million times better. So, yeah, this one has the skin here, and then it's kind of ripped open. I hope I'm gonna get the feel of this. There's definitely a pretty dark, but there's a little bit of light shimmering on that, just a little bit. So I'm gonna get just a little feel of that lightness up there. And as it comes around, it gets a lot darker. Coming around here. And maybe I'll come back to that. What I'm gonna do, I think, is go over to the darkness of this one now. And it's got some almost like it's almost kind of a ribbed pattern in a way on this. Got some darkness coming up the side. But it does get kind of green and lightened up quite a bit. So let me get some of those veins going up first. I just want to get the feel of, or the ribbing kind of look to it. And then I'll go back through and probably do some stippling to give it more of a faded feel there with it. There's some right here that goes, this sort of goes almost in a pattern like that. And then there's a part here that sort of comes up and splits a little bit. It's always interesting when you draw and how much it takes to make you notice things that you didn't notice before. So anytime I draw something, I get to explore it visually a little bit more than when I did before, when I just seen it at a glance. So there's kind of even a little bit wider there, and then there's this almost bends that way a little bit too. All right, and there's some lines like that sort of come down and wind around a little bit, just a little bit on there. Get a feel like that. Get a little bit of the curve here. Starting to see the curve on the starting to have the lines not just be straight up and down, but and then there's really actually a strong one. It's probably kind of right about here. It's a strong red line that curves up the side of the fig, kind of like that, and fades out maybe right about there. And there's some other strong lines that are coming here. Like that. It's going to be nice and dark down on the bottom here to get that shade in there. Even though this is lighter because it's got these two dark spots, but I still want it to be pretty dark because it's down towards the bottom. Give me a strong line here. The bottom of this strong line. across. I'm just gonna get these lines down here. Do need it to be pretty dark coming up here. And actually the redness of it kind of winds around the side of it. So this is there's a little bit more lines like this in here. This. Yeah, it was super fun to go out there and eat some wild figs with my daughter. I've done it. I've eaten wild figs many times because, like I said, my buddy Will, he likes to collect them every year. My thing that I've liked to collect the past few years, to go out and get in the wild, has been pawpaws. This was something I didn't even know about until, maybe I'll draw a pawpaw at some point, but I didn't even know about pawpaws until 3 years ago or something like that. But they're a very cool North American native fruit that's native to North America, and I didn't know about it despite living in North America my whole life. Well, almost my whole life. But little dappling here, little shadow from the stem. See if I can get it to look right here with it. And then I'm gonna get some of this, kind of do it going up here. Just doing it to give it a little bit of that shade feel, because there's really kind of, it's a lot of green in here that looks really light, and then there's a little bit of redness in it that's just it's almost hard to it can be kind of hard to give the gradient of colors, you know, and how the colors look matched next to each other. But there's a little bit of that there, so gonna get some of this stippling in here. Down here, we gotta get some more lines here coming up with this pattern, especially down here. Down here towards the bottom, it really gets dark. I want to give that feel of the curve of the fig by getting it darker down towards the bottom and then having it curve, come, you know, gently out as it goes up. See if that works. And a little feel of more stippling down here, making sure I'm getting this curve with the some of this I'm just gonna fully darken in, just getting that curve of the fig. All right, and now there's a meaty part to it here. It really looks like something almost like, I don't know, something like some kind of alien movie or something, really. To me, it looks like that. Anyway, but there's kind of a very fleshy kind of part to it here that sort of comes out like that. It's kind of a it gets lighter as it comes out. I'm gonna try and just do this just a little bit here. Still get some of the feel for the fig innards, like this, how the fig innards sort of stem out from this middle space in here. They'll sort of stem out from here. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm getting this exactly the way it looks. It's a little hard to try and get some of this folds in the maybe I got a little bit of a curve there. And there's a little bit where it comes in like that. And this is kind of in that there. So, but this was 2 figs here. Maybe what I'll do is we'll do a little shadow here. So like underneath it, give a little shadow. Really would love for it to be just a totally consistent stippling, because I really just want it to be a shadow. So I really want it to kind of all be the same color, or if anything, a little darker right down at the bottom here where it might get a little darker underneath the underneath the piece of fruit itself. So just a little bit darker there. In that spot. A little bit darker there. Maybe stemming out from that. Gives that feel. And there's a tiny bit of barely darker shaded area right here. All right, and then I've got big shadow from this one too. Yeah, so the shadow doesn't really curve out enough to get the point from the top because the light source is more above it and a little bit behind it than it is anything else. So we won't get the point of the fig in here, but there is enough of the curve of the fig, the big fig. So it was interesting. We had different figs there. There were some really large ones, which Will said some people really don't like the large ones. Other people do. And then there were the smaller ones, which were, I would admit, were sweeter, typically, the smaller ones. And there were lots of green ones. There's still lots to get ripe even at this time of year, which is, you know, August, early August still. Yeah, when I get the pawpaws, that only happens late August, early September. So it's a very short window for when pawpaws are ripe. That's why it's super fun to get them too, because they don't stay very well. So I think that's why stores don't ever seem to carry them. You might be able to find them at some kind of like farmer's market or something like that someday, but a lot of places don't have pawpaws. You just got to get them from the trees. So that's my drawing of a couple figs. So that was, and I'm just super grateful for the adventure that I was able to have with my daughter when we went out to get these figs, and just adventures that I have every day with that. So I hope that you guys are able to create today, and I hope that you continue to be drawn to gratitude.